Welcome back, everybody, to this week's episode of Maximum Octane. I am super, super duper excited to have my friend Gilda Dyckman on today. Hi, Gilda. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning.
Gilda is the owner and operator of Cars Automotive and Muffler in California. And but that's not why I'm having her on today. A lot of times I have business and leadership topics. And so today is going to be a little bit different because Gilda has a lot of insight to something that we can all use to benefit in our lives and enrich our lives and make it better. And so want to just get started and jump right into it. So we okay with that, Gilda?
I'm sure.
Okay. Well, Gilda and Mike have been blessed with two beautiful, intelligent, smart, funny. They are funny boys. Yeah. And
they're men now. They're men. They're 22 years old.
It's just so hard because I've known you for so long. I think, what were they, like 12 or 13 or something when I met you? So they're a little bit different. So want to talk about that and how people that are a little bit different can bring joy into our lives. And we got to get out of our heads and our way and look at all the possibilities. So you want to share a little bit about Trent and Troy and Brent?
Yeah,
I'm combining their names. I just gave them one name. That probably happens with twins, right?
My dad used to do that same thing. He used to call Brent and Trent, but it is Brent and Troy. And just a correction, I don't like to call them different. I just like to call them special.
All right.
So Brent and Troy are my identical twin boys, and they are blessed of having autism. And I guess I say blessed now because when we first had the boys, I always thought it was a curse, or it's like, why did the higher above do this to us, you know? And of course, everybody said, oh, well, you know, God wouldn't give you something that you couldn't handle, you know? So, you know, a little resentment from the guy above, but it's been a journey since they were born, even before their diagnosis. So let's just say they started walking and running at 10 months old. So life has been full octane since 2000, you know, so.
So you had twins, so two children at the same time running and walking at under a year. So that in itself is, holy cow.
Because they're identical twins, they both have autism because they share the same genes, you know, so basically it's genetic, you know, you can't tell me other than that. So, you know, there's so many myths about why they have them, why this, that, but they're identical and they both have it. So, so it's been challenging, mostly fun through the years, but I think challenging is when they become adults because you don't have the school system, you know, there behind you, making all the plans for you, you know, putting the special IEPs and things like that. And therapists are like kind of not there anymore. And so it's basically mom, dad, and your kids, you know, your adult kids trying to figure out what they want to do in life. And so Brent and Troy were done with school. You know, they loved it until they were out of it. And so anytime I want to say, oh, let's go do this program. Well, is there homework, Mom? Do we have to go to school? Do we have to do that? I'm like, so it's been very challenging. You know, we've had some therapists it's called tailored service, you know, trying to get them to learn about how to be on interviews, fill out applications and go on interviews. And then that's where the struggle is, that nobody wants to give them a chance. So a little background on Brent and Brent, you know, he's gone through all this. He is the one that is very mellow, the sweetest. He'll do anything I ask him to do. He's very responsible. And of course, he's gone on a bunch of interviews. If you give him a direction and, you know, he'll do it, you know, and it's kind of like, you know, us, you know, you learn something and it just becomes automatic. You just keep on doing it. And so it's the same to them. If you teach them something, you know, you may have to show them 100 times, but they do it, you know, with no complaints. And then there's Troy. Troy is my little handful, he's my apple of my eye, And that little sucker, he's already had 2 jobs. We got him a job at the local nursery, the plant nursery in town. And they were very willing and accepting because they have had special adults do the job. And of course, it was pruning and watering. And of course, it's in the middle of summer. It was really hot, so he didn't really like it. And he loves food, I think they teach food in the beginning of their life, in therapy. If you clap your hands once, you get a Cheerio. If you clap it twice, you get 2 Cheerios, So it's kind of like the treat. If you do a job well done, you get a food, So in town, we had a little Italian restaurant. They had a sign, hiring exceptional adults. And I'm like, oh my God, this is perfect. Troy loves food. And he was going to culinary school. And
wait, I love that. Hiring exceptional adults. I love that. I just got I love it.
So, I took a picture of it. I gave it to the therapist. And so they called me, well, it's kind of in the middle of, the pandemic, give us a few more months until we get back into the rhythm, with customers and stuff. So, we waited a few months and he contacted the guy and he goes, okay, we'll hire him. And so hire him for like 3 days a week in the evening, to do salad prepping. So he was doing that. And about, a month later, I guess the owner, who was the one that was all for hiring exceptional, got sick. And so his manager was running it. And so Troy shows up for a shift and he lets him go 2 hours later and says, oh, we're slow, go home. Next day, oh, we're slow, we'll go home. And so on Sunday he shows up and he goes, well, you're not scheduled on Sunday. So they started cutting his hours. And then about 3 months into all this stuff, they had to close the restaurant because they didn't recover from pandemic. And now Troy's out of work, period. While Troy was working, I felt really bad because Brent goes, Mom, why does Troy get all the jobs? I don't get the jobs. I'm like, Bubba, we just haven't found an employer that is understanding. I go, you don't want to work for somebody that doesn't understand, your differences. And he goes, okay, Mom. And so I felt really bad. It's just he was beating it down.
Mom, my heart,
going on interviews. And so he had an interview at a local chain restaurant, Brent. And so his therapist was not with us or she was off the day. So I'm like, okay, I got to go with him, And then he goes, oh, I can do it, Mom. I can do it. And I said, oh, I know I can, but I just want to make sure that he knows your differences. And if he has any questions for me specifically, because, your tailored service person is not going to be here with you. So he goes through the interview and I'm sitting right there. I go, if you need me, I'm here to answer any questions. And so, the manager goes, oh, well, we've hired exceptional, adults. And I'm like, okay, great. And Brent answered all the questions head on. And so, so the interview ends and, he thanks us for coming. And so, Brent, shakes his elbow. He didn't want to touch him, and he goes, Mr. Mike, he goes, I just want to let you know, if you hire me, I will not disappoint you. I will not let you down. And I hope to hear from you. And I'm just like, Mama's like,
I'm crying. I'm crying right now.
So, we walk out and I said, Brent, I go, you made me the proudest mama. That was the best. That was your best sentence you did in your whole interview. And he didn't get the job. And I was like, oh my gosh. I go, I just felt so how he felt. He did such a great interview, for being special and didn't even give him a call back, nothing. Or they sent him a generic corporate email. Thank you for coming.
Which we do that all the time, unfortunately. A lot of business owners do that all the time. And it's horrible, regardless of who your applicant is.
Right. So then I was talking to my husband. I said, why don't we just bring Brent to the office, and have him, work for us. And so, we sit him down and we're like, okay, Brent, Mommy and Dad want to make a proposal to you. Why don't you come to work for the family business? We'll start you from the bottom up. And so, okay, first I have to go back a few years because this is these are the isms that I get. So, I tell Brent, Troy, so Brent and Troy, do you want to come and help Mommy at work? And he goes, well, what are we going to do, Mom? I said, well, you'll sweep, you'll clean, you got to start from ground zero. You got to clean the bathrooms. You got to sweep. You have to help the techs, shred paper, do little things for Mommy. And Troy goes, remember, Troy's my apple, right? And Troy goes, bathrooms? He goes, well, that's what we have Karina at home to do. And he goes, he goes, I'm the owner's son. We don't clean bathrooms. And I went, oh my God. I'm like, okay, so this is how it's going to go. And I said, well, Troy, then you're not going to have to be able to work for mommy and daddy because, daddy cleans toilets even to this day, mommy cleans them. So, okay, so let's go back to Brent, and so I said, okay, Brent, mommy and daddy have a proposal. Why don't you come work for mommy and daddy? We'll pay you X amount of dollars and you're going to help mommy in the office like you always do. And he's my best filer. I'm so stressed. I have no stress at my office. He does all my filing. Troy does all my shredding, and Brent reconciles my statements. I give him the statements, give him all the invoices of all my vendors, and he highlights and makes sure they're all there. And so anyway, so he goes, okay, well, what I'm going to do. And so I tell him everything he has to do. I said, but remember, mommy and daddy are, your boss, and you got to listen to all the employees if they ask you. And they're like, okay. And he goes, well, thank you for the opportunity, but I need to think about that. And I'm like, okay, so they really taught him all the skills, for interviews and stuff. So about 2 days later, he goes, all right, Mom. He goes, I've thought about it. I think I'll take you up on the offer. But we need to sit down and we got to find out what my schedule will be because I have some obligations other than mom and dad's office. So, we go through all this. He goes, okay, I accept, So he comes a few days out of the week and, he makes my life in my office better. So in the meantime, now Troy has no job, so he's, home and he comes to the office when, he finishes his workout with their trainer. So he goes, well, am I going to get paid like Brent? I said, no, you're not going to get paid like Brent because you just sit there and you're always on break. And I go, you have to show being responsible. Brent does his stuff. And so anyway, so that's kind of our little story of Brent and Troy working in the office. And
they don't call you mom and dad at the office, right?
Oh,
Which
gosh,
I love.
No.
So you want to talk about that? Because it's so their personality, like they just crack me up. And so they don't call you mom and dad at the office.
No. So it was like Brent's first week as being, working and as an employee, not just volunteering for the family business. And I go, okay, Brent, it's time to go. We need to go home because, mommy has to cook dinner. And he goes, okay, Mrs. Dyckman. I went, excuse me? Excuse me? He goes, Mom, we're at work. You're not mom and dad. You're Miss Gilda or Mrs. Dyckman. You can call me Gilda like everybody else does in the office. And he goes, okay. So, we go out and I go, okay, bye, Mike. Mike's in the pit in the muffler shop and Brent's right behind me. He goes, bye, Mr. Dyckman. I'll see you tomorrow. And I'm like, and Mike stops. He goes, Brent, it's Daddy. He goes, Dad, we have to be professional. We're at the office.
I love it.
Brent is funny, in his quiet little.
And they're really hard workers. They're Eagle Scout. I mean, that's no easy feat to get your Eagle Scout.
Yeah, right? So both of them are eagled out. That was a journey. I think Mike should have got his Eagle merit badge as well, and he didn't. But we made the ceremony special for him, so he felt honored. But Brent, he says, well, Mom, this is only a temporary job because until I get a real job. And I'm like, so working at mom's business and daddy's business is not a real job? He goes, well, it's the family business, Mom. This is not really a real job. And I'm like, okay.
Well, but I think that's so important because they don't want things handed to them. They want to work for things and they want to have a position and they want to be independent and get their own job and have an identity separate from. And so
I was really hesitant to bring them in. I mean, come in and help, volunteer. That was great. But bringing them in as somebody on the team because, we're not going to be there forever as owners. We want to retire and I don't want them to be stuck because the new owners may not hire them or, we were going to sell to one of our employees, but he moved on. And, that was kind of the deal. We're the landowners. Brent comes with the lease, but I really want them to get their own job, their own identity, and
really, they want that. They don't want handouts.
Because he comes when when it fits my schedule or his schedule. And so, but I really want them to have something that this is what I do every day. This is what this is my routine. So
can you talk about that program? And I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Okay.
The program, and you said, the Taylor. I'm sorry.
Okay. So
can you talk about that, because there's somebody, and I don't think businesses realize what's available when you're hiring.
We live in California, so it could be different in all different states. So we belong to the regional center. Because of their diagnosis, they continue to be a client of regional for a lifetime. And so we have ILS, which is independent living skills. So that helps them at home to learn how to manage their banking, learn how to do transportation, cook for themselves, all the things that to get them to live independently, whether they stay at home or they, live on their own in an apartment. And then there's something called tailored services. And so that is where they, they break them out in hours and stuff, where they teach them how to apply for jobs, either on the computer or, online, computer online, or fill out an application. Mostly it's all, on the computer now. They train them how to interview. So they mock interviews, and then once they do interviews, they go with them to interviews. And if they get the job, the tailored service will provide a shadow for the independent, for the individual. So
what does a shadow mean?
A shadow is like an aide, somebody that will go with them to work to make sure that it's almost like their supervisor, to make sure that they're following the protocol of their job, to keep them on task, to make sure that they are doing what they're supposed to be doing, And then, they would step back as much as they can until they can be released and be able to do their job 100% independently. So we really didn't get a chance to, we did, Troy used it when he was at the nursery, because it was really hard, because it was a very monotonous job, watering, and of course, Troy wants to water everything but the plants, or got distracted, or, he, go do his little, I call it his chivo running, his goat running, going to one spot to another and then coming back. So she'd had to redirect him. So a lot of redirecting, where Brent and Troy are totally opposites. Brent, you just have to kind of show him something. And Brent, I really applaud him, because my friend's husband has a little home invention that he did, and he does it out of his home. And so she goes, hey, do you think one of the boys, maybe Brent, can come and help Gary? So Brent goes there once or twice a week when he's, busy and he needs them, and he helps him do a little assembly work. And so the thing about I like it is that the people that are accepting and want to work with special adults or kids is they have big hearts, And so Gary has become best friend at work. They listen to rock and roll music, and then they fight who's going to, listen to which music today, and they jam to the music, and, he's given him a raise already. And, and so he goes, it's so nice, because I always hire teenagers or high schoolers or college kids, or, mostly teenagers. And he goes, I hire Brent. Gary tells me, and he goes, I hire Brent. He shows up on time. He shows up at my door, and I'm still in my boxers because, I'm still drinking my coffee. And I'm like, oh, he's on time. My teenagers never show up on time. And then I was like, well, Gary, he's not a teenager. He's an adult. And he goes, I know, but, I've known him since he's been a baby. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And he goes, and he brings his own water, and he brings, he's ready to step and work. He doesn't fool around, or he goes, oh, I can't come in. They're all like, I can't come in, or, oh, sorry, I'm late. And he goes, it's such a refreshing that he's so responsible. And that's what people have to remember is, once you give a special adult a task, they will fulfill it. They will be there on time. It is like they were meant to do this job at the moment, where I can't even get a 27-year-old to come to work on time to be, a technician. Late every day, and he lives 5 minutes away, and he can't, and he goes, well, I'm late because I got the red light. I'm like, oh my God, then wake up 5 minutes early,
Right.
But I wanted to kind of talk about how it makes the difference of giving a job to a special adult, it really, you can see the change in their character. They feel honored to be there. They feel a regular human being. They don't feel different. They feel like, hey, I'm a person. I have a job. I'm here to do something just like everybody else. So, the holidays are coming, we have a holiday lunch at work for the guys, and we do bonuses and we give them free gifts. We really go out for the holidays for my crew. And so Brent goes, well, Mom, I'm part of the team, aren't I? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, I am going to get a bonus too, right? And I'm like, yes, you're going to get a bonus. He goes, I get to come to the lunch. I'm like, well, you always come to the lunch because, you're our kids. He goes, but I'm not your kid anymore. I'm your employee now. And I'm like, yes, you can come you are invited to. And he goes, so it's funny how their mind changes once you give them a job. And it's really nice because our team makes them feel welcome, and not even because they're our kids. It's because now they know they wear their shirt, they wear their uniform, and they know they are there to do something, not just to goof around. And and I can see more compassion in my employees. They're a little bit more patient. I mean, they've always been patient, but they know like, hey, I really need to step up and show him because he's supposed to do this, So we had moved our porter, Bo, to service writer. So now we don't have Bo doing all the cleaning and doing that. So Brent has kind of stepped up and doing now what Bo does. The only thing Brent doesn't do is he doesn't drive. So, that kind of doesn't, it hinders what we need. But, he's stepped up and he's doing all the cleaning and the stock inventory. And so we're pretty soon going to try to see if the guys will like teach him how to take the tires off and, do a little basic mechanical. So that's the next step for him.
That's fantastic. And, knowing both of the boys and having been able to spend a little time with them, one of the things about them that they love life, like they love everything, like everything is a sense of wonder and just are thankful for the things that we overlook every day and that we take for granted. They are just, and boy, they tell you the truth. So if
there's no hidden agenda on them.
Yeah. So it's so pure. Their emotions are so pure on all of the spectrums, the joy, you're not pulling that one over on me. And this is not what I'm here to do. And you're not my mom today. You're my boss. You're my whatever. And I want to probably have you back on again with Fred Gistwicki from Fix It with Fred in Ohio. He hired one of his technicians. His girlfriend's brother is special, and I can't remember off the top of my head right now what was special about him, but he hired him, and the technician has since left, and Fred has kept this person, and Fred said it has changed the dynamic of his entire shop, of everyone that works there. Like this young man has made everyone a better person and in better moods and more appreciative about just the simple things that so many times and Fred will tell you that's one of the best decisions he's ever made at his shop. And he said, there isn't any value, any dollar amount, anything that you could put on what they brought to the table and how they just made everybody's lives better and the engagement and everything. And so the reason I asked you to come on today is because we forget about so many things, and we have to take time to stop and smell the roses and to look at the bigger picture and what we can do. And this is something that's so easy because we need employees. Everyone is screaming from the rooftops, regardless of what industry they're in, that we're shorthanded. We don't have enough help. We can't find anybody. And here's an opportunity, and every state pretty much has a program where you can hire. I like the word exceptional adults and young
I think
people.
Everybody's exceptional in their own special way.
They are. And so, there's programs where you're not even really doing the supervising. There's somebody there supervising for them. And so I hope that everybody can consider it and think about it. And if people have any questions, Gilda, can they reach out to you? If I put your information, they can contact me too on the website and the link, and then I can hook you up. But because I'm sure that there'll be I know you're going to give me some links for the state of California, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty easy for everybody to go on and just put in their state, Google what resources are available. And listen, even if you're doing it for selfish reasons, because we can't find people to work, if that's even the only reason that you're looking into this, I don't care, but look into it, because I promise you that anyone that I've ever been involved with in these situations have said how much better their lives are being around exceptional people and bringing them into their business, their home, or whatever it is. And they want to work. Like you said, we have so many people that are working out of compliance, not commitment. They have to, and here's people that want to work. They want to work. So let's put them to work.
I think it's just that the fear in us or in everybody is like, oh, they're going to get hurt. Oh, they're going to, you know what? They're going to get hurt just like anybody else. You're doing, and I know the time is off, but Mike did this with an individual before I even met him. His next door neighbor, he was his parents' age. So he was an older gentleman. And Mike, every Saturday, take him out to breakfast before work. He'd come and work at the shop every Saturday. Mike had a uniform from him. And he would sweep. He would help take the tires off the cars. He would do whatever the guys needed. And he was a workhorse. He would not stop. And Mike told his mom, which everybody called her grandma, and says, Grandma, Carl's doing such a great job. He's my companion. We go to breakfast. He goes to work with me. I take him out to lunch after work. And she goes, I want to pay him. She goes, Mike, you are giving him something that nobody can give him in the world. He goes, you are making him feel like a man, like everybody else at your shop. Everybody has embraced him. And he goes, that's his highlight of his week, is to go to work on Saturday. And I'm like, oh my God, and so,
just my heart right now.
So, and he was our next, and he mowed everybody's lawn. But on Saturdays, his day was with Michael. And that was Michael's best friend. And, we moved, but we kept in touch, and we just heard he's now in a facility because he's 88 years old.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. But, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, Michael was doing this before the realm of awareness and stuff like that. And I couldn't pick a better husband and a better father, because he was in training, for Brent and Troy with Carl, so it's just, it takes special people to work with special people. So, and just open your hearts and welcome them. And they're not any different. They do have limitations. You have to make adjustments, but you're making somebody's day so much better.
I will tell you this. Don't ask them if your butt looks fat in your jeans, because you won't get that. And I'm using that as an example. They've obviously never say anything to me about my butt, but when you want when you want a straight shooter, when you want honesty, when you want Brent and Troy are your men for sure. They are. They're so funny. They're just so funny, the things that they come up with. Well, I really appreciate you joining me here today. And I hope that we can do a few more of these and raise awareness, but also help with, we need people that are reliable, that want to get to work on time, that are not going to be calling in sick on every whim and not changing their minds every 2 minutes, and being there because they truly want to be and not because they have to be. And so this is like a perfect marriage of making the world a better place and fulfilling a need that every single business has. So I appreciate you talking about it with me today. And I'll see if maybe we can't get Fred on, and maybe if you can speak to one of the aides or something, and they maybe can come on a little bit and talk about that with us, because
absolutely,
I think this is just a wonderful thing. And you are wonderful, and the boys are wonderful, and so is Mike. And I just adore all of you. So I appreciate it very much for you being with me.
Anytime. Thank you.
Okay, we will be back next week for our next episode, and I will have all of Gilda's contact information and everything in the links, and as well as mine. You can reach out to me and say, hey, can you set something up with Gilda? And we'll go from there. So thank you again, everybody. Stay safe, make good choices, and stay inspired, and we will be back next week. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.